Hey, what's up guys? Here with another video addressing some different imbalances that happen during an overhead squat assessment. And you might be wondering, why is this overhead squat assessment so important? And it's important for a couple of reasons. One, the body mechanics of the body when doing this assessment are going to reveal some different imbalances that might happen. And secondly, by building a strong foundation in your legs and your midsection, that's going to carry on to so many different exercises, just improving your overall health, strength, mobility. So it's really important to have this assessment down and locked to the individual. And so some of the imbalances that a provider will look at when the assessment is being done are things like, okay, are the knees knocking inwardly? Is there an over excessive amount of leaning with the chest? Just these different things to look at really play an important factor in the mobility and the mechanics of an individual. So they're doing these movements that we might not notice because of these overcompensating muscles that have occurred just over the years of just wear and tear, possibly an injury, or not following the correct prescription of exercises for the individual. Also, some underactivated muscles could be at work, rather not at work, and need to be activated so that they can move the body better. And one of the first things we're going to go over in this video are somebody who has inward knocking of the knees, their heels are coming off the floor, and how can we improve on these different challenges. So starting with somebody who's got an overcompensation of their knees knocking in, one of the main things is just that the adductor complex is just overcompensated. So that's the inside of the thigh. And how can somebody improve that is by doing these lateral resistant band walks. You can have a band just slightly over your knees with your knees slightly bent and walking in a lateral motion in the area that you have provided. In this second exercise, the band is still around the knee, because what that's doing is activating the outside of the legs so that the inside of the legs are not overactivated, and having a stability ball and performing some squats while pushing against that resistance band is going to be a great way to activate the outside of the legs. And now we're going to go look at somebody who has an overreaching chest dropping forward, the feet are pushing outward, and those arms are starting to fall down. There are some different exercises that you can do that are really more isolated than anything, but are really effective and create that mobility that we want with the overhead squat. So when people think a squat, they think power, they think strength, they think big movements and large muscles, and that is correct. However, there are still small muscles that need to be engaged and activated for that overhead squat or regular barbell squat to be effective. And one of those movements to help and improve those imbalances and underactive muscles is going to be a single-legged reach, like such, where you're just balancing on one foot, you're reaching down, and making sure that your foot is as stable as possible when you're reaching down. And isolateral movements, cutting your body in half and doing strength exercises such as the single-legged squat. I'm using a bench behind me as a reference point, making sure that my foot is very stable, and I'm dropping down to the bench to make sure that I'm getting down to a 90-degree angle. And so this is one of the main things to target smaller muscles, because smaller muscles require much more focus and much more activation versus a squat. So these isolateral movements are going to be really effective. And the hip forward flexors, a big cause of just an overcompensation. So doing rolls with the tool, with the roller, and hitting the inside of the thigh is going to be a great great tool to use. And when you feel that tenderness in the inside of the thigh or anywhere, that could mean several things, but for our purpose, it's gonna mean probably that area is overactivated. So we want to make sure that it's nice and relaxed. So how do we target the hip flexors? There's a small muscle in between your thigh and your torso. It's called the TFL. That's going to be the cause for tightness, overcompensation. More than often, it is overactivated muscle. And to relax it, there are different stretches, but here I'm using the foam roller to target this area. And they're not big movements that you're doing. You're just rolling back and forth, side to side, getting the most out of that small range of motion with that muscle to just help it relax. Oftentimes, being in these sedentary jobs, that hip flexor will tighten up because it's so used to being flexed in that seated position. And when you start to exercise, that muscle doesn't like that because it's not used to being in that movement. Now you'll see that I switched over to my side leg that is rolling out the IT band. IT band's a big sheet of muscle, not very thick, it's very thin, but it helps create space in your legs. So by rolling the side of your leg out, that's going to help alleviate any tightness. It's going to help better circulation in that area. It's going to promote lean tissue growth, and it's going to help those abductors of your legs. All right, so by having these different imbalances and targeting all these different areas of your muscles in your legs are really going to help activate dormant muscles such as your tibialis anterior or your adductor magnus, or just all these different muscles that really play a big role in your movement of your squat or just your activities of daily living. So just like one side is being rolled or stretched, do it with the other side as well. It's important to have a well-balanced structure in these stretches and the exercises so that one side is not being overly put attention to and the other one is not overly neglected. So it's important to treat both sides the same and that they'll get the best results.